Hey everyone, and thank you for clicking on to SinStar Studios. My name is Will, and this channel will be a recovery-based channel. You'll be hearing a little bit about my story. Where I left off was in episode 1 around my 20s, but to really get a grasp and understanding about where I was and where I've been, I gotta kind of tell that story. And it will come to me in different segments. So I will try my best to keep it in a order that would be easy to follow. At this time, there was a moment in my life I think I need to share because it was a very pivotal act that should have been a wake up call for me, and it wasn't. The story goes is I was a sophomore in high school at my big high school that I started at Marcos Deniza. And, I was going to school about half the time. And I would have to make up for the classes after school and detention. So, um, I would go and smoke weed and smoke cigarettes, and that was really frowned upon back then. And I would go to detention. So when I was sitting in detention, I have things that you're not supposed to have in my backpack. And I'm sitting next to my friend Chuck. He practically lived in detention. And we'll call this woman Constance. Now, Constance was the teacher that was running the detention, and she didn't like me at all. She was not. She was just one of those women that just didn't seem to gel with me. She didn't like me. Go figure, right? Who could not? Um, I'm saying that sarcastically, of course. Um, I was always on her radar. So when I went into detention, she already noticed that obviously there was signs that I was under the influence, and she came right up on me and was like, "Mr. Elias, that is an interesting smell you have on you." And of course, I know I pick up on her sarcasm, and I have to shoot one back to her and was like, "Well, it is probably the cologne you're smelling of mine." And she was like, "I don't think that is. And I think we need to do something about this." There was in that moment, I knew I'm in trouble. I have stuff I'm not supposed to have in my bag. I know security can be here very soon. And they were in golf carts. This was a really big high school. And I remember my friend Chuck looked over at Mrs. Constance and was like, "What do you mean you have to do something about this?" She looks at me and slams her hands on the table, and it says, "We're going to have to call security." She gets up, she runs over to the phone. My friend Chuck looks over at me and is like, "What do you have on you?" And I was like, "I got stuff. Can you take it?" And he's like, "I'm not taking it for you." I was like, "Dude, what should I do?" The man was a genius, and I have to say he helped me with this advice in this moment. He says, "Dude, you gotta run. You gotta run out of here." And I was like, "Okay." I pick up my bag from detention. I turn and I walk to that back door. I remember kicking that back door open, running outside. Now, by this point, she's on the phone and she's like, "Will is running. He has drugs in his backpack. Security needs to pick him up." And I am running. I end up catching up to the track team because now I make it to the football field where track and field, because this is after school, is all stretching. They're running laps. I blend in with them with my jeans and backpack, jogging with them. As I'm looking behind me, security is now on the field in their golf carts on their way to get me. Well, I got a lead on them. So it's about a football field's length, and I scale this 25-foot fence, which lands me basically on a sidewalk on the main road. So I make it off campus. I run to a friend's house, and now I know I'm in trouble, but I'm not as much as in trouble as if I stayed. Mind you, if I stayed in that moment, security would have been called. They would have searched my backpack. They would have found something. Police would have came. I would have been arrested. I would have been charged for possession of marijuana, a bag of weed and a bong. I didn't need that in my life at that moment. Those moments were going to be coming later on, but I didn't need it then. It's too young. So, what do you do now, right? I get on the phone with my mom and I tell her briefly what happened, but I explain it in a different kind of way. I explained it to her that I was hearing from my other friends that they have been pulled out of school, being searched, and been touched inappropriately. There's this buzz going around school, which, to be fair, there was not for men, but for women, there was. So I kind of piggybacked on that excuse. And I said, Mom, you need to call them and tell them that's why I ran out of fear of being searched. And there's this narrative going around where the school office security is frisking the kids inappropriately. Just thought of that on a whim. I know my mom called the school. I don't think she did all that, but she did call me and said, "Hey, you're suspended uh, for insubordination, and you can't go back to school for 2 weeks." You know, at that time, it was no real love lost for me. I was not planning on staying and graduating at that school. I knew I was so far behind by that point, there was no way of me graduating. So I had 2 weeks off to just be at home and give myself some more good days. That saying will kind of be something that I will repeat throughout the time that you guys, hear my story. But needless to say, after those 2 weeks, I come back. Um, I come back to school, and it was probably not a week later that I'm back in the office. See, mind you, in one of those weekends that I was suspended, I went out to a party. Now, this party was a little different because there was some beef with my friends and these other guys from a party the night before that I wasn't there, I didn't have anything to do with. So we're at now party number one that I'm at, and my friend sees a guy that he doesn't like, and that guy threw my friend out of a party. So now he's at our party and we're going to throw him out, basically. Um, I wasn't involved in the initial pushing the guys outside or any of the physical part about this. There was so many people that rushed there was 4 of them, and there was maybe about 30 of us. Like, the odds were not in these guys' favor at all. Mind you, in this time in the early 2000s, it was a very, in my opinion, I think, with media, the type of music that was out there. Now, don't get me wrong, I love rap music, and I just think that it played an influence in people that these people normally wouldn't be doing these type of things if they didn't take in this type of lifestyle. Um, Needless to say, it was just kind of violent times. People were really quick to like hurt people, and they they got this guy on the ground, and I remember they were beating this guy up so bad that I didn't know what I was looking at this point. Like, I remember they had him laying on his belly but propped up like this, and his legs were like he was like a U, but like face up. And I remember there was a line of people taking swings on this guy. Um, when they dropped him, his head hit the ground. It was one of the most brutalest things I've ever seen. Um, this guy needed like reconstructive surgery on his face. The police went after everybody involved. Uh, thank God I did not participate in any of that. Because I, one, didn't see the need, and two, I wasn't involved in the party situation before. So this is not really my fight. Um, and why I'm telling this story is after I got done with my situation of being suspended, I'm back at school. My second day, I get pulled back out. Now, a detective sits me down and says, Mr. Elias, look, everyone has told us the person to talk to is you. You were there and you're the one that can help with this situation. I immediately clam up. There is no way that you're going to get me to say anything about this because I'm not going to end up like that guy that was just saw. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm living in this town I'm not being ran out of this place. Like, I've seen what happens to people that get certain kind of jackets around here. This neighborhood, we're all infested and living with each other, and the groups are just so tight knit that you're out of your mind if you think I'm going to be divulging any information to you. Because, granted, I know I'm in a position that I don't have to give you anything. I'm not in trouble. You're not charging me for anything because I didn't do anything. They worked it somehow where they got me for falsifying a police report because they were able to prove what I was saying. I was lying. Um, in regards to like my involvement and who I thought was there, and they used that to kick me out of school. So I was done. I was burnt. Marcos Deniza had enough of me. They said something about after that case that you can maybe try to come back, but I was done. I was out, and I needed to find an alternative place to go to school. So I went to a charter school. The reason why I picked this charter school is one, it was really close to my house. Two, it was considered a tier one school. And at this time, I was looking into getting into the military, and that was kind of something that was important on the type of school that you went to. Um, there's like tier one, tier two schools, which are kind of like, I guess, not so qualified. And then there's the GED program that they'll let you go in. So since I was still considered a tier one school, I was really interested in going into that. I also recruited about 8 kids to go over there with me, and at that time they were giving you $50 for every referral. So I got between about 8 to 10 kids over there, and they shelled me out, I think like 400, $500 just on my second week of going to school. And I was at this place, it was called Tempe Excel. Now, it was one of those charter schools. Metal detectors, uh, sheriffs with with guns, bulletproof vests. They would walk up and down the halls, and it was smaller, extremely smaller than a regular high school. Like at most, maybe 200, 300 kids at most. And that even seems kind of high. Um, I had a car. I had my first car was a 1988 Acura Legend. And then with that and selling my dirt bike, I ended up, and um, my, of course, amazing, beautiful mom helped me get into a 2001 Galant Mitsubishi. Silver, had a spoiler, um, rims. It was, um, at the time, a really nice car. So, I was kind of now in a place where I was noticed on my own terms in a way, as far as like I had a clean slate. Nobody knew me there, but I was relatively feeling like I was up and in good standings because I didn't have really any standings. I was just clean slate. So, um, Tempe Excel was cool. I did not end up graduating from there, because by that time, gosh, looking back, I was just so young, but I was so still dependent on pain medication through my whole high school at Tempe Excel. I remember I don't think that there was a day that went by that I did not have um, something to get me through that day. And mind you, after that day, I'm going to work. Um, the second I turned 15 years old, I was working. Because I like work. I like being at a place where I'm responsible of something. I think that's partially why I've been able to survive this long, relatively, because even though I was out there chasing a habit and keeping this monster of addiction alive, I was always fighting to know that one day I will be free of this and I will work to being something. See, the thing is this, whether you want to call your addiction a disease or a mental deficiency, whatever the name you want to call it, this this thing is at a certain point, it can take you to a point to where you can't return from. And you won't know that it will happen until it's too late. Because for me, really, what it was not prison, but going back after prison, only being released 9 days from prison. And then I went back to jail. That was my wake up. Like, okay, this is not going to work for you unless you like doing what you're doing, which I did not. I was not happy. I was not in a good place mentally. I was ready for this to end. I didn't want to be that type of person anymore. But I was so far gone, I didn't think I could be able to save myself. And I knew something drastic had to come and happen. That didn't come for about 17 years. So there'll be some story that you'll be hearing of those 17 years.